I'd like to call the board. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Board of Education in public, not for the purpose of conducting the school district's business, and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is a time for public comment during the meeting as indicated in the agenda. Mr. West?
Can everybody rise? Those in uniform render a hand salute. Everybody else hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chambers, roll call.
Yes, Mr. Nicholas.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Ms. Moore.
Here.
Mr. West.
Here.
Ms. Pritchard.
Here.
Thank you.
Mr. West has a special presentation, so Mr. West?
There we go. Never been up here before. Good evening, everybody. As you can see, I'm dressed a little bit differently tonight, and this is probably my third type of job that I have. I've been a Boy Scout leader for the better part of 18 years, serving Medina City School students for all of that time, all the way from first graders all the way up to seniors in high school. But tonight, I have a special guest, two special guests that I'm going to invite up and have them talk a little bit about his Eagle Scout project. So I'd like to invite Robbie Wolna and Mr. Jeff Milam, our Scoutmaster, up, please.
Get your big speech ready there, Robbie. You know it. Okay, hey, good evening, everyone. As Andy said, he and I together have been involved in scouting quite a long time. I, like Andy, have been leading these boys for the last 18 years. My wife and I, starting with Cub Scouts, I think we had 14 boys that transitioned over from Webelos into Boy Scouts. And from that, we started into another troop that we decided, this just isn't enough fun. So we started our own unit about 10 years ago. This will be our 10th anniversary. So Robbie is the 27th Eagle Scout since we started that troop 10 years ago. And I can tell you that Robbie made a photo finish. I think we wrapped up his Eagle project literally with 2 days left to go. But to tell you a little bit about it, so the scouting program isn't just about advancement. So the boys can go as far as they want to go, as fast or slow as they want to go. But what it's really about is being involved in the community, learning about your country, learning about government, learning life skills, and navigating along the way, learning how to solve problems as a team, basic leadership skills, how to survive. Certainly outdoors is a big part of it, but that's really a small part of what we're after, particularly at the level of Eagle Scout. So what Robbie's going to talk to you tonight about is his project. And the unique thing about the Eagle project, it's not the project itself, although that's a nice outcome. It's about the process. It's about the process of deciding who you want to serve, who's important to you, meeting with them to decide what needs do they have and how can I adapt my project to meet those needs, coming up with a budget and a proposal and a plan and keeping everything on track. And Robbie will share some of this with you tonight. But it's a dress rehearsal for real life. We find people don't necessarily move at the speed we want them to, right?
Yep.
Sometimes we have to wait. An Eagle project at a minimum takes 6 months, and I've seen them go much longer. So Robbie's going to share with you about his project. For those of you who don't know, the Scouting organization provides about 160,000 hours of community service every year. The average Eagle project is about 150 hours, and Robbie's wasn't too far behind it. So I'll turn it over to the star of the show. Robbie.
Thanks.
Yeah, congratulations.
All right, so I named it Blake's Little Library because it was for my elementary school, H.D. Blake. I knew I wanted to do something for them because I just always, I really enjoyed going there. And I remembered when I went there that they had a recycling club, and there was garden boxes that were pretty beat up. So I went to her about that, and she was really excited, but the recycling club was no longer a thing, so we kind of moved past that idea, and she had an idea of something with like the little library, and I thought that was really cool and neat since there's a couple around Medina. but there's no like really new ones. So I knew I wanted to do that. We got set on that, kind of drew up some ideas, looked online for some inspiration, and then together we kind of set on that for sure. So we went out. I know me and my parents went out and we took measurements of some, and we met back with the principal, and once she signed off on it and we made some adjustments to the idea, I met with Mr. Dexheimer, who signed off my proposal and gave me the okay to go ahead and start building. And then, so looking for materials, me and Mr. Milam, we went out to Menards and picked up a lot of our materials there, like the Trex boards. We got plexiglass, all kinds of different screws, nails. And I was originally thinking of plywood, but I didn't want it to rot away as fast, so I knew I wanted something more heavy duty. And while Trex was a lot more expensive and heavy to work with, I knew it would last a longer time and it'd give it a better look than just painting on plywood itself. So here's some pictures of us actually building in Mr. Milam's garage. We did plywood on the inside, and then we surrounded it with Trex, as you'll see later in the presentation. But that's kind of like the beginning stage of us mapping it out and cutting out the plywood and getting that box formed. And some more building. So after we got all the sides together, you'll see we added the shelf on the inside, so you could put books top and bottom. And then I stained the inside. You see on the picture on the top towards the left there. And then Mr. West also helped put the sides and everything together in the bottom there. So this one was a little tough, putting the Trex on, because it was so thick and heavy duty that you can't just put regular screws through it, obviously. So that was probably one of our biggest challenges, was gluing it and making sure that it was really tight on there. And then we added a nice white trim on the front, and then later we'd put the plexiglass there, and it helped get like a pop more with the brown and the stain on the inside. And then, so after we got all the Trex boards on, we kind of made like that roof that you see there. We had some 2x4 boards go on the top to give it some more stability. And then Mr. West actually gave some of those shingles, and we put those on the top there. I think it looked pretty nice with the color of the brown, and that white trim really helped give it like a pop. And then this was another really difficult part. So thanks to Mr. Mile again for bringing out his post hole digger. We got the spot, started digging, and eventually we hit just straight gravel, which didn't really go as planned. Oops. Did not expect there to be just, after a little bit of dirt, just straight gravel. So it was not fun digging that out. But eventually got through it, put the post in, got it cemented in, and then we came back, put the box on. As you can see in the picture on the right, it was very dark out. I think it was, what, maybe 8 or 9 o'clock at night. We were out there. I stained the post in pitch black, and yeah, we got it done that night with 2 days left to go. So a little photo finish, but it was very worth it, and I had a lot of fun with it. And that's it.
I just wanted to add a couple thoughts and couple statistics. Just to give you a little hint, if you go out there and look, you started in first grade, right, with Cub Scouts?
Yeah.
Just give you a little bit of statistics of all the young men and now young ladies that start in the scouting program as first graders. Less than 1 in 200 actually complete their Eagle Scout rank. So when you look at that, that's a half of 1%. And then when you think about the number of kids, there's not as many kids today as there used to be. So he's one of 1 in 200. And it's really about, I know we're introducing the capstone project. This is really a capstone project for scouting. And the big thing is it has to be done for an organization or somewhere that is not scouting related. And we've had, like Mr. Milam said, 27 Eagle Scouts in our troop. And it's been a varied project, and it's up to them to decide that. So I would encourage if any of the board members have any questions for Mr. Woolnut that you answer 'em or ask him.
I can't wait to go by Blake and see your finished project. So thank you for congratulations on finishing your project, but also thank you for giving back to the elementary school that you attended. That's fantastic. We appreciate that. You're welcome.
Curious, did you have any woodworking experience before this?
A little, yeah, because I've helped with other projects, and then just doing other small projects and activities with Mr. Mellon, but I think this was definitely like the most like hands-on because it was my project, so I think I had more fun with it too.
Of course, it looks great.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
I just want to congratulate you and thank all the guys in the back for coming to support you. It's really impressive. So thank you all. I would ask you to stay and enjoy the rest of the meeting and see government at work, but you probably have other things to do. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Approval of the minutes of January 22nd. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll put a motion to approve the minutes from the January 22nd meeting.
Second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, so thank you, Mr. Nichols and Mrs. Smoyer. Roll call?
Mr. Nichols,
Aye.
Ms. Smoyer,
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst,
Abstain, as I was not at that meeting.
and Mr. West,
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Thank you.
Additions, removals, modifications to the agenda. Does anyone have any? Then can I have a motion to proceed with the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mrs. Parker.
I'll
Second?
second it.
Second by Mr. West. Thank you. Roll call?
Ms. Parkhurst,
Aye.
Mr. West,
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Aye.
Ms. Smoyer,
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Thank you.
Superintendent's communication. Mr. Sable.
Well, good evening, everyone. I see a nice, healthy crowd tonight. First up, I'd like to invite Mr. Stacco, our principal at Heritage Elementary School, and I know he's got a crew here to present on, I believe, English language arts over at Heritage.
So first off, thank you for this opportunity to share all the great things that are happening at Heritage. This year we had a camp theme as our school-wide theme for the year, and our little motto was Explore, Learn, and Grow. And so we're going to share a little bit about how we've explored, learned, and grown this year. The first thing that is going to be presented is first grade. Our first grade teacher, Nicole Varney, is going to talk about first grade.
Good evening. First grade at Heritage has been working on kind of the deeper learning with launch for our first trimester. So a lot of the launch is connecting to their interest and helping them kind of figure out their place in the world. So we always start at the beginning of the year with our behavior matrix. Be respectful, be responsible, be ready to learn. And then through our citizenship and community work and lessons, we brainstorm jobs in the community. Our students then were wondering how those 3 R's then translate to people in the community and how they use those in their everyday job. So we brainstormed a list of questions, and then we invited members from our community to come in, and the students worked on interviewing them, using those questions that they crafted together to interview a lot of those members. And after that, they were inspired to then build their own community. So they chose a place in our community that they have either been to or love to visit. And they had to brainstorm what materials they needed. We did a community blueprint, so they mapped it all out, and then we put it together This will then lead into our third trimester of our goods and services unit. So we will then again bring community members back in and talk about goods and services through the interview process as well, and helping them kind of again connect to their place in our world. The next one we're working on currently is our Penguin Palooza. We brainstormed a bunch of questions. We said, we're going to be learning about penguins. What questions do you have about that? And the kids came up with a bunch of questions. It allowed us to see their prior knowledge, what they're kind of bringing to the table, so that we could create some fun activities for them. They've used books, they've done independent work. You can see kids are working together, how to be partners and listen to each other. Through our learning, they brainstormed questions, they took the answers that they were learning through their research, and we were putting that all together. We made sure we found important keywords that people would be that would be important to make sure we understood, like rookeries and the incubation, all these things that kind of come up in their learning that they had questions about or wanted to explore. We did a podcast from zookeepers at a penguin exhibit at the zoo. And then we went into a kind of a explore and show what you know. So they were able to create something and they presented it to their peers, and their peers were able to give them feedback based off of the things that they had been learning. And we had a fun explore day where they did different stations of penguin launching, building nests and how they built those nests and protect the eggs. They did a slide and how penguins slide on the ice. We gave them different surfaces to explore if that impacts how they move. And then the middle picture was really fun. It was they had to color really hard with crayons and spray it with water. So they got to see how their feathers keep them warm, keep them dry. And then the final project with all of this is to learn about birds in Ohio. And they're going to create a penguin with adaptations to be able to live in Ohio. So it'll be really cool to see how they can put all of that learning together. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Young. I teach third grade at Heritage. In third grade, we have been piloting the new CKLA reading curriculum, and we've been really working hard at extending that learning and really just making it fun. It is a fun program, but just adding more in and making it memorable, especially this being our last year at Heritage. So I want my students to come away with all the fun things that they did in my classroom. So here we are researching and drawing out the wingspan of a bald eagle. This tied in with our animal classification unit, specifically with what we did with birds. So they got to really see how big those wingspans are. And then we dove deeper into researching bird nests. Students used internet resources and books to learn about different birds and where they built their nests. And then we went to Makerspace, and they chose materials to build their nests that they researched. So this was an example of a hummingbird nest that students built in the classroom. Let's see.
One that ought the eggs of a hummingbird would be about this big. And the nest is 1.5 inches long.
So they also presented their findings in what they built in our Makerspace session.
And it needs to have fur inside to keep the babies warm. And their eggs can be different colors.
So explain what you built there.
So we built a tree with our nest here, and then this is the hummingbird. We also learned it's not about the nest, but the hummingbird eats nectar and then feeds it to the baby out of the eggs.
Very nice. We also tied in Mr. Blue, who brought his reptiles at the end of our unit. That's always a fantastic way to learn. So lots of hands-on experiences with the reptiles. And then we moved on from the animal classification to human body. We had Blake Skelton join our classroom, and he went through lots of labeling on all of his body parts there. And then we did text feature surgery to conclude our unit. Throughout all of the units, there's a heavy emphasis on identifying different text structures, boldface words, glossaries, photos and captions. So the students took some old books and cut them apart to do surgery on those books and locate and find those different text features. And they had a lot of fun with that. And then we also had a physician come and speak to third grade about healthy living at the end of that unit. And then we moved on from there to ancient Rome, and we had a celebration at the end of that unit where students, we built Rome in a day. They say it can't be done, but we did it in third grade. And this was kind of a STEM research where we took the biodegradable packing peanuts, and they will stick together with water. So students were assigned different Roman structures to build, and they really enjoyed that. We built the Colosseum and aqueducts, and that's what we've been doing to extend our learning in third grade. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Emily Dimitriadis. I'm the school counselor at Heritage. Junior Hope Squad is in its first year at the elementary school, so I have 2 of our Junior Hope Squad members here to talk to you a little bit about what that's looked like at Heritage.
I'm Amelia Hughes, and I go to Heritage Elementary, and I'm here to talk about Hope Squad meetings. We have these meetings once a month, and in the meetings we talk about important subjects like kindness and empathy. We also have a guest teacher read a book about the subject, and after we finish the book, we do activities like making kindness webs and guessing safe or unsafe situations.
Hello, my name is Ireland Gillahan. I am a 5th grade student at Heritage Elementary, and I will be talking about some activities we do in Hope Squad, such as we're doing Hope Week and a kindness drive. During Hope Week, we'll have different activities every day that will teach about kindness. Some of the activities will include hope floats and an assembly about kindness. And then the week before Hope Week, we are having a personal care drive to show kindness in our community, and students will be bringing in toothpaste, dental floss, shampoo, soap, all of that and more. So we're going to give back to our peers, community, and all of our teachers.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us. My name is Daniel Golobic. I'm an intervention specialist at Heritage, and I'm a member of our PBIS team. So with the school closing next year for K-5 building, we wanted to really give the kids something memorable that they could take to their new schools with them. So with our PBIS committee, we formed family groups. So each of our family group lessons follow one of the 6 Portrait of a Bee competencies. Family group lessons provide students with positive, engaging lessons that teach them the importance of being respectful and responsible citizens in today's society. The family group lessons allow students to form positive and trusting cross-age relationships with peers and staff members. And then, again, since Heritage is closing, we grouped together students based on their assigned school for next year. So we had Fenn kids together and then Blake kids together as well, just so when they transition next year, they could maybe see some familiar faces that they were in family group with. And then there is power in developing cross-age relationships with our students in a safe, nurturing setting. Both older students and younger students benefit equally. The family grouping allows students to have an identity in a smaller group setting and develop a positive relationship with another trusting adult. And then these are our first 3 lessons we did. The first one was based on Resilient Lifelong Learner. Each one of these has a literature attached to it and an activity. The literature for that one was Ish, and then the activity was the kids made a family quilt with their the group leader, and then they made Ish self-portraits of themselves. Lesson 2 was Responsible Decision Maker. The literature was What do you do with a problem? And the activity was Understanding an event plus a response equals an outcome. And the most recent one we did was Respectful Citizen. Literature for that was How full is your bucket? We worked together and encouraged others to complete a task, and then we wrote thank you notes to community leaders and gave compliments to other students to fill their buckets as well. The first 2 lessons is a lot more teacher guided, I would say, but then when lesson 3 came around, you could definitely see like the 4th and 5th graders taking the lead, which is awesome to see. I had a kindergartner in my group, amazing, future leader of America. She was awesome. So definitely great to see that, and I think it's definitely been a really good thing in our school. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Christy LeBlanc. I'm the reading intervention teacher at Heritage Elementary. And Nicole Varney and I are the K-Kids leaders in our building. We have a group of 4th and 5th graders, and our mission is that all students have the opportunity to develop as caring, confident leaders who help others through service. And we have done many different service projects and building leaders in our building. At the beginning of the year, we had a canned food drive, and each grade level brought in cans, and they were all a part of the, I think there's a whole Medina canned food drive that is done in October through, is it Dan Sherman? So through that organization, so we donated thousands of cans that went along and helped those in need. Along with the canned food drive, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way. We work with the PBIS team, with our dream teams, and we meet with our 4th and 5th graders to tell them, to give them front load the lessons that they will be receiving from their dream teams. So when they're sitting in with the kindergarten through 5th graders, they are like a peer model, and that they can share and help the younger kids in that group. And as we do that, during the last lesson, we made posters that were presented during opening, and those posters shared what was discussed in our expectations in different areas around the building. And then another part of K-Kids is that we love to share the joy, and we went Christmas caroling in December before break and took the kids around the neighborhood, and it's fun to see all of those that have been there for a while. They look forward to seeing us, and some hand out candy canes, and they stand in their doorway listening to us do our caroling. And is that our last one? All right. This coming week, we are doing a change war that we're going to have the kids donate change and have a competition, and see what we can pull together. We also did in November, we had the K-Kids were a part of, we had a veterans assembly where the students seated the veterans, spoke to the veterans, and they were a part of leading that assembly. Thank you.
And that's just some of the wonderful things going on at Heritage. And again, thanks for the opportunity to share.
I want to thank our Heritage family for coming this evening and sharing all the great things that are occurring in that building with our staff and our students. It's sad to hear us talking about Heritage transitioning to a preschool, yet at the same time there's excitement there too, because you hear these outstanding things that are happening in that building, and the skill and excitement that our staff over at Heritage, as well as our students, are going to be bringing to more students in our district. And I think that's very exciting and hopeful for all of our students to be able to expand our resources across our district, despite the fact that we're going through a difficult time right now. In terms of having to reduce the amount of our actual elementary buildings. And I really commend our Heritage staff today for your resilience and your light. The work that you're doing this year to honor Heritage and what Heritage has been, while still looking forward for a bright future and preparing our students and yourselves for Beyond Heritage, is commendable, and I thank you. I know it's been a difficult year.
Can I just ask one question? The first graders, when the construction, any chance they could work on the roads in Medina to get around? I mean, if they could solve that problem, I would be all there for them. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, especially this time of year, right?
Yeah.
The winter. Next discussion item I have is the March Board of Education meeting. We had some preliminary discussion. Mr. West, myself, and Ms. Pritchard and Mr. Chambers regarding our upcoming meeting in March. Our board meetings got a little out of whack in terms of the dates due to some adjustments that we needed to make. I think some of it may have been surrounding the precaution report, as well as needing to get approvals to place the 7.5 mil levy on the ballot. So just wanted to open it up for discussion about if there's interest with the board in making any adjustments to the March meeting to spread things out. I think it comes up a little more quickly than the meetings normally do. I do want to point out another thing to be aware of is we do run into our spring break at the end of March as well. And then to note also the timing that of the election, which is March 19th. And Andrew and Jean, I don't know if you wanted to share anything else.
No, Amy, I know you had something you wanted to say.
Well, I know I'm going to be having surgery, so on March 6th, so it would probably be best that it be later, if possible. So, for me to attend.
Yeah, I just think it's like 14, 15 days between this meeting and the next, and if you look at the agenda, it's not that heavy. I guess this is the big meeting that we have to approve the precautionary thing. I would just like to move it back a week. I mean, I know it's election day, but I mean, it starts at 5:30. I don't think it's going to make it, going to hurt anything. That would be my opinion. Joe, Andrew, Becky?
If we're going to move it back a week, I think like on a Monday night, but does that get in? Huh? Yeah. Well, we could do it on Wednesday. Well, we could do it after the election.
That's spring break.
No, like the 20th.
Oh, the next day?
Mhm.
Can you make it on Wednesday? Yeah, she can't still make it. She has Tuesday and Tuesday. And Friday. Yeah.
I vote no on Friday.
Joe?
I have a conflict on Monday, the 18th as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we move it a week, I'm fine with it. My schedule's pretty flexible, so I'm okay with whatever works for the majority of everybody else. There's nothing that's gonna cause issues for me.
Go with election day?
Yeah, I'm fine with the 19th. I just, spring break is the following week, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
And the only one thing that I did want to throw out there is keeping it on the 12th gives us one more date to provide information about the upcoming levy. And I'm not sure if that makes a difference, but I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I was thinking when we scheduled this initially,
Yeah.
there was a reason we did it.
Yeah.
Because typically we don't do 2 weeks, it's usually 3 weeks, but
Yeah.
I think that may have been part
Yeah.
of the reason.
Well, Kids First is doing such a great job getting a hold of everyone. I think, and we still have 2 hours to convince people from 5:30 to 7:30 to vote on the 19th. Everybody agree to the 19th?
Well, now I really think we should keep it the 12th before election. I guess it depends too on how much the administration would have to present. If there's nothing more that additional week for you to prepare for the meeting, then we would just keep it as is.
No, I would imagine it would be a shorter agenda with a shorter amount of time, as Jean had mentioned.
I mean, can you get the financials from February by then? Yeah, so that's the other thing.
I most likely will not be able to attend that meeting if it's on the 12th.
Yeah. Everyone, the 19th? Okay, I guess the 19th. Don't know, jump up here.
It sounds like we're the 19th.
Yeah, 19th,
Okay.
At
Thank you.
5:30?
5:30.
Okay.
We can go earlier. We could go 5 if that, I think that helps for that one meeting. Pardon me? Okay, that's fine. 5:30 on March 19th. Okay.
And the last item I have for this evening is to provide levy updates. I just want to remind the board, not that you don't know, but we do have a levy on the ballot on March 19th. And absentee and early voting has begun. I do want the board to know, as well as the community, that Amy Busby and I have been working close to try and make sure we are getting factual information out to our parents, staff, and community. One of the things that has come to our attention, especially over the course of the last 4 weeks or so, is misinformation that is out and being shared. So I would ask the board, or really any community members, that if there are questions or there is a feeling of misinformation or something doesn't sound right, I'd encourage you to reach out directly to myself or any of our building or central office administrators so that we can extend accurate information. We also, on our website, have a place where people can submit questions, and we have been following up with those, and people have been utilizing that and following up with people either through phone calls or through emails. And that might be myself, it might be Mr. Chambers, it might be somebody else in the district, just depending on what the question is and who would be most appropriate to answer those questions. In addition, we've been working on I've been doing little videos on just the facts. So I had several of those in the past few weeks. I do those when somebody does reach out to me and provide information. Hey, I'm hearing this. Is this true or not? So I try and provide the correct information, and then Amy follows that up in some sort of a fact sheet or short newsletter. In addition, she's also been collaborating with area newspapers and news articles to, I know Montville Press, I'm not sure what it's called, but Montville Living is one of them that she's been working with as well to get that information out. So I think in terms of us getting the factual information out, it's really about us understanding what the questions are out in the community so that we can provide those accurate answers. One thing that's been very positive is I feel like people are trying to do the research and ask the questions and get the facts. It's very important for people to be informed. The other thing that I'm just going to touch upon here, because we're going to talk about this in more detail in just a moment, but this evening we are presenting the state mandated precaution report to the Board of Education. That report was put together in collaboration with the state. Dave Chambers and I met on pretty much a weekly basis for the past month or two with the Department of Educational Workforce to develop that report, which outlines specific reductions and develops a plan moving forward to offset deficits within our 5-year forecast. Within that report, the levy isn't directly included in that because the state doesn't allow us to directly include it within the spreadsheets. However, it is included as part of the narrative, and that levy is an important part of that plan and are working with the state moving forward. And then we'll get into that in more detail in just a little bit here tonight when we present that to the board, but want to make sure that as that information rolls out, that again, our staff, our community, our parents don't hesitate to reach out with questions once that information becomes available tonight. I did provide a communication to our administrators and staff prior to tonight's board meeting regarding that report so that they would receive some of the information before tonight's communication, and then there will be a communication going out to our community after tonight's board meeting. So unless there's any questions for me of the board, that's all I have tonight.
Okay, Mr. Chambers, the treasurer's communication.
Yes. The district bank balance decreased $2.7 million in January. This went down to $48.35 million. This is $6.3 million below last year at this time. The 5-year forecasted revenues were above January by $1.4 million. Last January by $1.4 million. The revenues of real property, personal property, state foundation, property tax allocation, and other revenues account for this increase. The 5-year forecasted expenditures were above last January by $248,000. Benefits, personal services, supplies, and materials and other expenditures account for this increase. The sales tax fund balance increased to $4.04 million. The district spent approximately $139,000 in January with major expenditures on roof replacement and walk-in cooler freezer at Blake. The district also received the last quarter of the 23 sales tax payment from the state of $1.1 million. The rec center capital fund balance increased. I put decreased, but it's increased to $525,000 below zero. The district spent $119,007 in January on the natatorium project and fire alarm service. They received $26,000 from the city for both of those projects, and we also had a transfer of $130,000 in December for the rec center. The district has received $50,700 in investment income for January. This total is currently $364,000 above the amount collected at this time last fiscal year. And finally, the district has forecasted true days cash estimated to be 108 days. This is down from December by 13.11 days and below last year by 45.86 days. I'd also like to mention that this is the lowest the true days cash balance has been since January of 2014. Questions on financials? We also have supplementals. I got to look at these because I have them in front of me here. Supplementals we have for uniform school supplies for Claggett. This is money to complete the POs for science, math, and ELA consumables for the year. You have Principals Fund at Claggett. This was a grant award for grade Rubik's Cube exploration. You have Principals Fund at Root, which is a grant from the foundation. And you have K-Kids at Garfield. This is money that was collected from Money Wars they had. And finally, you have Huddle Food, which was additional monies that they collected as well. And finally, you have a resolution accepting the amounts and the rates. This is an annual resolution. This is for the county itself to set the rates for tax year 24, collection year 25. This is the initial resolution. If a change occurs during the year, I say this every year, if a change occurs during the year, then in November you will pass another acceptance of rates and amounts. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, board comments. Mrs. Moyer?
Thank you. Appreciate it very much, everybody here. I did go to the Finance Committee. We finally had that this this year, and I'm on it. And it was great to meet the community members that are a part of that. That was nice to hear their input, as well as the input that the board members have. And Mr. Chambers was very kind to explain a lot of things to everybody that was there. I also went to the sextortion adult-only thing. It was very, very informative. It gave a lot of great talking points. I know I have a high schooler, and it was eye-opening, in all honesty. So, yes, we had some talk afterwards. And then the Portrait of a Bee last week, wow, that was so cool to walk in. I know I was like 5 minutes late maybe when it started at 6 o'clock, and it was full. The whole place was full. So I was astounded. It was great seeing everybody in the hallways, all the parents, all of the community members. It wasn't just parents that were here, which was great to see. And what I loved the most, and I know some of the heritage teachers that were here, some of the things that they showed earlier today, I asked the kids to explain it, and their eyes just lit up, and they really did explain their projects. So that was nice that they're just excited to show off what they've learned. So that was great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Nichols.
Yeah, so I attended the facilities meeting at the beginning of the month. I'm just still kind of getting my feet under me there, because it's my second month there. So I appreciate the patience, Ryan. And then also had a curriculum meeting, and went to the Portrait to Practice also, just like Ms. Moyer had mentioned. It's, we had a invite, I think it was to the Chamber of Commerce before November, where we had about 6 tables of kids present certain projects that they were doing within the classroom. And this was like that on steroids. It was awesome. And after I went and saw it, you can ask my wife, I was like, people need to see this. Like, this is cool that there's like all these things. And we actually went together and walked around and looked at everything. It was actually kind of funny, because I was sitting there and I'm like, yeah, we never did anything that we could present when I was in school. And my wife is 5 years younger than me. I'm like, all right, well, you have the jump on me. Did you do this? And she also went to Wadsworth too. And she's like, yeah, we weren't even close to this. Like, it's just awesome. I mean, I know, especially for the younger kids. I'm old now, and I get that. I am old. But, still being so close to my public schooling, it's and education just changing completely, just doing a 180, and kids are learning completely different ways, and they're learning better and more efficiently. Like, I don't think our students exactly understand like how lucky they are to like be learning in today's day and age because of those type of things, and it's showing. And I really hope that a lot of people in the community, not just parents, but people that don't even have kids at the school, made it out and were able to see like what is happening in the schools. And that's one of the biggest questions that I get when I'm talking to people about the schools just in public. They're like, well, okay, but like, what are they doing in the schools? I'm like, I can explain it all day, but that doesn't mean they believe me. Here's a perfect example of it. So, yeah, it's just so awesome. Like, it's so cool to see that type of stuff and being put into a learning environment. Yeah, I'll stop talking about the Portrait to Practice now.
Thank you. Mr. West.
Well, I want to appreciate the board's and administration's indulgence with my special guest earlier, but I thought that was important. But Yeah, earlier this February, I actually attended the facilities meeting remotely because I was not in town, but Ryan was kind enough to set me up, so I did that remotely. Out of the facilities, some things you may or may not see, but they've got a new room in the gymnasium in the upper corner to house the new scoreboard equipment. So it's in a nice, safe place. I don't remember the school, but there was a new inclusive playground equipment that was put in. What school was that?
Ella Canavan.
Ella Canavan. I knew it was one, I just didn't want to say the wrong one, but new playground equipment was put in. Sadly, immediately after it was put in, there was some damage done that had to be repaired because somebody in the community went through a fence and walked over it, but that's been since repaired. There was a couple rooms that had new carpet put in at Ella Canavan. We may see the high school track at some point in the future. It's coming to the end of its lifespan. But the big thing I wanted to bring out, and I think this is important for the community to know, is that we were in need of a couple new mowers. And they were looking at a demo unit that was about $16,000. But Ryan's assistant, Julie, got on an auction website and found two mowers with about 500 hours on them for $5,500 a piece. Now, 500 hours on a mower, it isn't even broken in yet. So that was a huge savings. So we got two almost brand new mowers for less than the cost of a demo unit, and we needed two. So that was a huge savings. And did I get that all right, Ron? Yeah. So hand out to his assistant Julie, who found these. So I think that's very important that the community knows that we're always looking for ways to save money and have new equipment, and we wear them out. And I have seen, our service personnel take really good care of our equipment and repair it on site and save money that way too. So very important to know. I attended my first Medina County Career Center board meeting about almost a month ago. I have another one tomorrow. I'm also was asked to be on their policy committee. We had a policy committee out there. I'd imagine they had some changes, and there were changes in the laws that maybe we've already captured or maybe will in the future. I don't know. But that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Parkhurst?
Thank you. Going off what Mr. West says, I think it'd be interesting, Mr. O'Call, if there's any way you could provide us with the acreage that we have to take care of, and maybe square miles of pavement. We're a large district, and I know I have no idea.
You're not looking for that right now, right?
No. I'm giving you some homework.
Yeah, we are.
Some homework. No,
I will get that for you. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, he was just talking about that. I thought, we're a big district, and we have a lot of grass to mow and a lot of asphalt to repair and plow when it snows, and a lot of buildings to take care of. So that just would be interesting when in your spare time. Thank you. Some other items, we did have our policy committee met the first part of February. Mrs. Moyer is new to the committee, so it was really kind of a get-to-know-you committee meeting and catch her up to speed on what the procedures are. So there's no policies at this time for us to bring to the board. With Mr. Nichols, I attended the board curriculum committee meeting earlier this month, and Mrs. Jackson reviewed the reading improvement plan with the committee. This is a written plan required by the state. It's to ensure that systems are in place for all our students to be successful readers and writers. Additional measures were considered as the district is in the process or will be adopting our new ELA curriculum for our elementary school starting in 24-25. It was mentioned earlier by the Heritage teachers. It is a pilot program out there, and that will need board approval. So I believe that might be on our agenda for next month for the board, just to keep that in mind. The other exciting thing we talked about were an update on the pilot capstone projects that we have in the 5th grade, 8th grade, and at the high school in the 12th grade. So I know that the board will be seeing more updates about those coming up, but there's some exciting things going on with those as well. The only other thing I want to add that hasn't already been talked about is, and it kind of goes off of our Portrait to Practice Expo, but we've been giving out lots of medals and awards to staff for Innovation Awards last few weeks, and I got to attend a ceremony at the high school last week, and it is just phenomenal to see what our teachers are doing, what our students are doing, which everyone hopefully attended the Portrait to Practice and got to see that. A lot of those teachers, the things they're doing, getting these innovation awards for, we're at the expo. So there is a lot of great things going on in the district. I encourage all of us to share this. I know Mr. Nichols mentioned people are asking, well, we don't know what's going on in the schools. And sometimes as parents, we don't even really know from our kids because we ask them what they do, and they're like, oh, I had lunch and I got to go outside, and those are their favorite things. So sometimes it's hard to get that info out of our kids. The teachers do a great job with newsletters, sharing that, and the principals. But those are for the parents. So any way that we can get the community engaged, share what's going on with your friends, your neighbors, and whenever we have opportunities like this, which I know there will be more, we have to get the word out and share that so we can get our community in to see all the great things that we're doing, because it's a challenging time right now, but there's a lot of good stuff going on that we'd like to see continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add one real quick thing? I'm sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to mention, I did make it to the Portrait to Practice. I was late because my employer called me in late to fix something, but I didn't get very far because I walked in and started talking to the kids and the teachers that were there and got very enrolled in with what they were going on. So I didn't really make it very far, but it was really impressive to see the kids there and the teachers talking about the various classes that they had. I just wish I would have had about 3 more hours. I could have made it all the way around. So thank you.
Uh-huh.
And I did just want to mention that the Portrait to Practice is an annual event, so that'll be occurring again next year and into the future.
Thank you. That's great. All right. I'm going to basically talk about kids because everything else has been talked about. I would like to congratulate Hallie, who's in 2nd grade at Waite, and Brayson, who's in 4th grade, for designing the covers of the Waite yearbook. The math teams placed 6th at Akron U, and Joey Courtney was in the top 10. 7th grader Bailey McCoy organized a school-wide service project to stock the Medina Personal Care Pantry. I had a great time at Canavan. Mrs. Busby and I played Jeopardy with a group of students, and we killed Mr. Sable's team. However, my team was very ruthless. They went right for the $500 category, and his team was only at the $100, and I'm like, hey, you're not going to win that way. But anyway, so we had a lot of fun, and then we got to see the 5th grade science fair. I would like to congratulate Tritney Trott, who was the January Student of the Month at the Career Center, and she was in animal management at the high school for the month of February. I don't know, for some reason the Career Center is a month behind. Nicholas Colasamo and Samantha Kermes were the Students of the Month. Caitlin Sulkis was the Medina Main Street Volunteer of the Year, and she's only a sophomore. Debate team first place at the Akron District Tournament, which qualified them for state. National Honor Society donated their favorite books to Blake, and they each wrote a little note into the book, so the 5th graders will have some connection. The Shakespeare group returned, and I was lucky enough to be in Mr. Weatherby's class when they did the battle scene from Macbeth. The kids did a great job, and whenever you're giving them something that they can swing at one another, you're like, this is not good, but they were very good. Attended the orchestra concert last week. Kids are just amazing, and they have really some very good people in the orchestra, and the conductors they're fun to watch because they have different styles. One's more dramatic and one's just like this, so they're fun to watch from the audience. I attended the senior night for wrestlers, and the wrestlers don't get a lot of credit, so I'm just going to take a minute here. Blaine Chrisman, who's a senior, he was honored. He's in criminal justice at the Career Center, and he won sectionals this weekend. Bryce Russell from the Career Center is in business and marketing. Evan Hancock is in teaching professions, and James Romano is here at the high school. So if there's any parent out there worried that if their child goes to the Career Center and they cannot participate in activities at Medina, they can. And here are 3 gentlemen that do that and do it very well. We had 14 artists selected to be part of the Scholastic Art Exhibition. The gymnastics team qualified for state, and the girls basketball team starts the district semifinals tomorrow at 7:30. And then starting Friday for the whole month of March, we are sponsoring the art show in the square. And how many businesses, Mrs. Busby? 25 different businesses, so you can walk around and see what's happening. And also, starting this Friday is the Claggett play going on. And I went last year to Beauty and the Beast, and the kids are really amazing. So I would suggest people to come on out. And it's Friday, 2 on Saturday, I think, and 1 on Sunday. So that's all I have. Is this going to you now, the resolution? Okay.
So the first item up to present to the board this evening is a separate item. It's a resolution for a precaution status report. It is recommended that the Medina City School District Board of Education approve the fiscal year 24 written plan workbook and the precaution report narrative as a demonstration to the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce and the Medina City School District community. The district plan is sufficient to eliminate the projected deficit from the 3rd year of the current 5-year forecast.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this action item.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Parkhurst. Mrs. Moyer, discussion?
Yes, and Mr. Chambers and I are going to tag team a little bit on our presentation to the board this evening on the precaution plan. Before we dive into the plan itself, I did want to share a little bit of history. A common question that we receive is, how did we get to where we are today in terms of being in precaution status and our current financial situation? Approximately 12 to 15 years ago, our district had faced a very difficult financial situation where we had a very challenging period of trying to pass operating levies to support district operations. During that time period, the district was forced to undergo massive reductions, much larger scale reductions than what we're discussing this evening. Those reductions at that time included things like going to the state minimum busing, which is a 2-mile radius and no busing at the high school. The implementation of pay-to-participate fees up around approximately $660 per sport with no cap. And it also included the elimination of middle school teaming, which I know is something that has been talked about and brought up. And if you're not a middle school parent or not a high school parent who had a child who went through teaming, you may not really totally understand what teaming is at the middle school, but essentially what it is a school within the school for middle level children. So it provides a transition period of time between the elementary years and the high school years during a time in a preteen's life where they're going through a lot of physical, emotional, psychological changes and our middle school teachers and staff really have a daunting task of working with those children in helping them progress through those stages while also helping them learn and grow into adults. So it allows, despite at a large school with 800 plus students, for our teachers to work together in collaborative teams to work with smaller groups of students that they really have an opportunity to get to know. Programming like that, though, requires a much higher level of staffing in order for it to exist. So that was programming at that time that was reduced. Other programming that was reduced was elective offerings in the district, particularly at the high school level. There was decreased classes for high schoolers to take. I know even 8 years ago when I entered the district, we had a fairly large amount of students that weren't coming to school at the high school for a full educational day. And what I mean by that is because there weren't a full gamut of courses being offered, many students were able to report to school during the second period of the day or even leave before the last period of the day, or both, because they didn't have a full academic schedule. So we were on minimal academic requirements per the state, which is way below I know our expectations of our community, or at least what people have shared with me in the 8 years that I have been in the district. In addition to that, we had a low level of counseling services available for our students. That was especially the case at our middle as well as our elementary levels, as well as administrative support, especially at our middle schools, Claggett, and then with our curriculum and curriculum department and technology department in our district. And I particularly bring those items up because we're in the business of educating students and providing an education to students. That's why we exist, and that is fully driven through curriculum and the curriculum that we offer. And if we don't have a solid curriculum department that's fully supported, whether it's administratively or through teacher leaders such as academic coaches, in a district our size, it's quite a challenge to ensure that we have the rollout, especially with the extreme amount of state unfunded mandates that we have to deal with on a regular basis. So, again, approximately 12 or 15 years ago, we were in a financial crisis where we were really at the bare minimal as a school district. Fortunately, at that time, and this is before my time in the district, our community did step up and demand more from our schools, and they offered financial support in order to make that happen. And there was the passage of an emergency levy. The passage of the emergency levy allowed for a lot of programming to be returned to the district. I would say most of that was essential programming. So we're talking about things like going back to full busing beyond the state minimum, returning elective courses beyond the minimum. In addition to that, being able to expand some of the counseling services across the district. The district was very conservative during the early passage of that levy in terms of financial resources, and for good reason.
After going through such a challenging period, I believe the leadership at the time, both Board of Education as well as administrative, felt it was essential to reestablish stability. So despite programming being reestablished in the district, the kind of programming that once existed within Medina City Schools and our community had once been accustomed to really never returned to the same normal that it was once at. 8 years ago, when I came into the district, we did a strategic plan and we did a full review of our financial situation. At that time, we were in a surplus of money due to the passage of that emergency levy, as well as the extreme fiscal caution that was being utilized within the district. However, it was very clear going through that initial strategic planning process that our community and our staff and our students, who were all part of that process, felt like we were not offering the level or expectation of academic services or even services beyond that, extracurricular services to our students or our community as should be expected out of a district like ours. So we've spent the last 8 years now going through our second strategic plan in those 8 years, looking at what our community's priorities are in terms of the expectations for our students. That resulted in the development of our Portrait of a Bee, which is our guiding light for all we do within the district in terms of planning for our students' education, as well as the development of our most recent district plan moving forward. We have worked on not only implementing programming beyond the initial initiatives with the passage of the emergency levy, but we've even gone beyond that. We now have implemented more AP courses in the district than we have ever offered, as well as College Credit Plus coursework. We've expanded our offerings both at the high school and the middle school to include career and college tech, which we feel is a vital and very important part to what we're doing. Times are very different than when I was going through high school, when there was an expectation that everybody went through college. We have a very different world that we're preparing our students for. And that's what we're trying to do right now, which means more extensive program offerings within our buildings. The other priority that our community asked for was all-day kindergarten programming. That was something that the district never had. At the time, I believe we were the only district in Medina County that was not offering all-day kindergarten for our students, which was not acceptable. And if you look at any of the research and the importance of early literacy and early mathematics, that time is so valuable with our students that it was extremely important to us to be able to have that free all-day kindergarten for our students. The other piece is ensuring that all of our students had more of an opportunity to participate in extracurricular activities. So reducing pay-to-participate fees was also a major goal of our past board. And that's something we did in my time. We actually cut the pay-to-participate fees in half, as well as place caps on those fees in order to allow more students to be able to participate in more activities and to provide more flexibility for families that have multiple students that are participating in extracurricular activities as well. We did approximately 5 or 6 years ago need to go on the ballot, and that was for renewal.
The original emergency levy that was approved by our community was a 5-year emergency levy. So we need to go back to the community and ask for that to be renewed. And we were very fortunate that our community not only overwhelmingly renewed that for us, but was also willing to transition that into a permanent levy, which was a big deal for us because the permanent levy provides financial stability, which allows us to do long-term planning and programming for our students. The last 10 years, we have pretty much been in deficit spending during the last 10 years. And the reason why is because we have been so fiscally responsible and we've been utilizing the surplus of money that we were able to initially create with the initial passage of that emergency levy. With the transition of that emergency levy to a permanent levy, it allowed us to take our programming even beyond the implementation of returning some of the past programming, but even going beyond that and putting middle school teaming back at our middle school and creating programming that's going to ensure the success of our students beyond the 21st century. What really is something I'm really proud about is the length of time that we were able to do that without asking for new money. So it's been an 11-year period where us as a school district, we've faced the same kind of inflation that everybody does, whether you're in a business or whether you're a homeowner. Increased costs of gas and electric bills. We purchase fuel for our buses. Costs of living and operating as a school district while still increasing programming. A commitment that our past board made when that emergency levy was passed, and I believe it was even the superintendent before me, was that we would not go out to our community and ask for new money until we needed it. And that is a commitment that I carried forward, that Dave carried forward, and that as we had elected new board members, they continued to move forward. So when we went on the ballot in November for new money, we needed new money in order to continue to maintain the programming that we had in place. Districts don't often do that. Oftentimes they'll go out a year beforehand, maybe even 2 years beforehand. But we made that commitment that we would not go out and ask for new money until we really did need it. So that created the situation where when that levy did not pass, it placed us very quickly, as Dave's going to share, into precaution status. In terms of where we're at today, we do have the 7.5 mil levy that's going on the ballot in March. We are looking at making reductions, approximately $8 to $10 million of permanent reductions, even if the levy passes in March. And the reason why is because with the levy not passing in November, we've lost a full year of collection, because the way levies work is they start collecting the following year. So had we passed in November, we would have started collecting in January. Now we're into the next year. If it passes this year, we won't start collecting until next year. It would have been a pretty big ask to put a larger levy on the ballot and ask the community to make up that lost money. So the board had a lot of discussion about what is reasonable. We are tightening our belts, as you're going to see when Dave goes through the information tonight. But with the amount that the board has elected to put on the ballot, we're going to be able to tighten our belts without buying a new pair of pants, if that makes sense. And what I mean by that is we're going to make reductions, but if the levy passes, we'll be able to maintain current levels of programming for students. It's always difficult in education when you're talking about reductions because we don't, as we say, produce widgets. So we can't just slow down the production line. We can't increase prices. Our product is our students and what we're teaching them. We don't sell and profit off our students. So unfortunately, when we talk about reductions in education, much of that is often geared towards reductions of people and employees, which is not easy. We are redistricting due to a decrease in enrollment at the elementary level. We do believe, due to the enrollment studies, 2 of them that we have had completed in the last 4 or 5 years, that we are stable now, but we will see that decrease going up through the middle schools as well as the high school over the next 5 or 6 years. The elementaries have already experienced it, which is why we are repurposing 2 of our elementary buildings. However, it is the ability to repurpose those 2 buildings that is allowing us to make the reductions that you're going to see today. So the reductions that we're sharing today serve 2 purposes. They meet the state's required report to balance year 3 of the 5-year forecast, but they also meet what we need to do in terms of making the $8 to $10 million in reductions with the 7.5 mil levy passing. If the 7.5 mil levy does not pass, we will be in a much more dire situation, similar to what I had talked about 12, 15 years ago. And we'll have to make much more difficult decisions. In addition, what I want to share before Dave goes through things is the reductions that Dave is sharing tonight are to date. And what I mean by that is the Department of Education required that we have a board-approved plan by the end of this month. So we are continuing to assess our resources in the district as well as our personnel. And there is the potential for further reductions as we move through the spring. In addition, we do have negotiated agreements with our employees, and we will diligently be following those as well as working with our associations as we work through these processes. And these reductions, as you'll see, impact all levels of employees in the district. Dave?
As the board knows, back in November, we passed a 5-year forecast. At that time, I pointed to fiscal year, I believe it was 25 and 26, and said, see this negative here. This negative is going to bring the Department of Education on to us, and they'll probably get back to us within a month or so. 2 weeks later, they gave us a letter. Letter basically said, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, this letter serves as notification for the district and the Auditor of State that this potential for deficit exists. The department considers your district to be in a precautionary financial state, and the Ohio Administrative Code requires that the district submit a Board of Education approved written plan to eliminate any current year deficit and avoid any flagged future deficits. So between December 4th and, as a matter of fact, last Friday, we met 8 times with the Department of Education and Workforce. I want to refer to them as Department of Education, but it's Education and Workforce, so I'll try and remember that as we go along here. This is the PDF, right?
You probably need to pick up the mic.
I will. No. The Excel program. There you go. Thank you. So, when we first met with the Department of Education, they gave us this workbook. Basically, it showed that, hey, what you have to do is you have to complete the workbook, show your revenue, show your expenditures, and the workbook will go ahead and place these revenues and expenditures onto your 5-year forecast, and then you got to submit the forecast, revised forecast. So those were the instructions here, and let me see if I can move this, Ryan. Can I move this? There you go. Thank you. Basically, these are all the instructions, the revenue enhancements, the expenditure enhancements. So I want to go to changes in assumption. So changes in assumption. We had to go through the 5-year forecast. We had to go item by item with the member of Department of Education. They looked at our forecast, saw where there were significant changes year to year, and we had to explain why there were significant changes. Well, the one change we couldn't account for was this item here, investment income. We had investment income based on the proposed levy in November, and we took it out of the first year, but we forgot to take it out of the remaining years. So if you pull over here, all the way over to fiscal year 26, you'll see there's changes here. So we had to account for the changes every month for the investment income. And these were our assumptions that we would receive roughly, I believe it's $420,000 over the years. So we split the $420,000 because it varies from month to month, but we had to account for it somehow. So we had to account for the 420 in fiscal year 25, 26, 26, 27, and 27, 28. So that was the only change in the assumption we made. If you go to the updated forecast, you'll see that here's where the changes were made. This was the original forecast. Here's where the changes were made. And if you go over a little bit, you'll see that it affected our forecast here. So we had a total of $1.2 million that we had to account for. It changed our forecast from, I believe it was 43 million to 45 million in the deficit in the last year. Now, go to our revenue enhancements, because the state says there's revenue enhancements. We don't have any revenue enhancements. We're a public school. We get donations, but we don't have donations that will go ahead and really affect a -$1 million to a -$5 million forecast here. So we went on to our expenditure forecast, expenditure reductions. This is where we have our major changes to our forecast. If you want to make this a little bigger for people, you could see that I'm waiting on someone else here. You could see what enhancements we have here. So we have a HVAC coordinator that's retired. He retired here in December. We also have 2 custodians that resigned. They resigned in December also. So those affect fiscal year 24, which is the current fiscal year. We're looking at 3 administrative reductions in 25. We're also looking at a school counselor, 7 teachers at the elementary, 5 teachers at the, 3 teachers at the middle school, and 3 teachers at the high school, all for 25. And finally, we have a central office secretary that's going to be reduced. She's retiring as well. So those are all 25. And then we have an administrator leaving in 2026. Now, if you move over here, you will see we have our HVAC coordinator and our, go up a little bit, please. HVAC coordinator and our custodians. So since they left in December, we could account for them for the rest of the fiscal year. What we had to do was we had to go back to our original forecast and see how they affected the remainder of the forecast. So we went out all the fiscal years of the forecast, 25, 26, 27, and 28, with their salaries and their benefits. We did the same thing if you move over into fiscal year 25. We accounted for all the teachers, and we accounted for the administrators. Every month, based on, we have biweekly pays, so we had to adjust for the biweekly pay. If there's 3 pays in the month, we had to adjust for the 3 pays in the month. We also had to account for if an administrator or a teacher had full medical benefits or family medical benefits or single medical benefits. So we had to account for all those every year. And if you then go down to your projected forecast, you could see this is what the original forecast with the adjustments was. Here's the adjustments that we made with our expenditures. And that's how we get to an adjusted forecast itself here. It's projected going through. If you pull up a little bit here, you'll see that we accounted for 2.8 million, 2.7 million, 2.5 million, 1.6 million. And the HVAC coordinator and the custodians accounted for 70,000 in the first year. So pull up one more time, and you'll keep going a little bit more. Thank you. Keep going. There you go. So you take all those, the cumulative total is $9.9 million. We were looking at anywhere between $8 and $10 million. So this is what we adjusted our forecast for. What happened was we had a deficit of $1.6 million with the original adjustment. With the projection, we're at 2.2 to the good. 2.7 to the good, I'm sorry. And what it also says is, yes, we eliminated the deficit here in our third year. This is what the state is looking for. Did we eliminate the deficit? Yes, we did. However, we didn't eliminate the deficit for fiscal year 27 or fiscal year 28. State doesn't care about those years right now. The state's only looking at your first 3 years. Also, deficit spending. We have not eliminated the deficit spending throughout the entire forecast. What will do that, or what will get us close, they allowed for, with the forecast, they allowed us to have the possibility of the levy listed here. So the levy will bring in half a fiscal year, $7.1 million. When it gets to the next fiscal year, we'll have a full fiscal year coming into the district, $14 million, $14 million, $14 million. If you look at the accumulation here, we'll have $7 million, $12 million in the deficit. We'll be closing that deficit gap. We'll have $21 million, we'll be $14 million in deficit, we'll be over that deficit gap. So it will go ahead and allow us, that levy will allow us to decrease this deficit spending as we're going. But the state is only looking for the first 3 years, did we eliminate the deficit? And that's what the $10 million in reductions have done. Questions with that?
Yeah, you know I do. Okay. So this is a lot of work, and I appreciate all that you guys have done to do all this, and I know this is not easy work to do. The first thing I want to ask is, let's say, I hope the levy passes in March, but if it were to not, and if it were to not in November, these deficits are not eliminated. These are really large numbers to be able to close without a levy of any sort. What does that mean? What's worst case scenario in terms of the state?
Worst case scenario is we would continue to roll onto precaution and even caution status year after year, and the state would mandate us to continue to make reductions, and this would be an annual presentation to the board. And as those numbers and negatives increased, the reductions would increase as well.
I think this is important to show for the community as well, that this paints a picture of what we've been talking about. What Mr. Sable was talking about in terms of programs and what could happen. This puts it in dollars and cents for everyone. I was also a member of the board. I've been here since Mr. Sable, actually before Mr. Sable was hired. I was on the team that hired him. I was part of that original board that said we would not go out and ask the community for more money until we needed it. It is clearly evident that we need it. It has been. It was in November. It is even more so now.
Any other questions?
Is this going to be presented to the public as well?
It's currently being presented to the public through our, currently.
We are live streaming.
Yep. There's also have a communication that's scheduled to go out at 8:30 following the board meeting, and I have no doubt that Ms. Busby's going to be at my office tomorrow morning talking about how we can further get this information out. So, and this report will be available on our website as well.
I just want to, I don't have any questions, so don't worry. I just want to mention that I think this is crucial. Anybody that has any conversations with literally anybody in the community should be pointed to this document that we have. One of the things that I heard in November was that the district has like $40 million hidden somewhere. If we do, I don't know about it, and we're lying to the state then, and those are big no-nos. Lots of people get in trouble for that. These are the numbers, like Becky mentioned. These are the facts. It comes down to the dollars and cents. Here it is. There's no hidden money. You have 3 years in the green if everything goes perfect, and then 2 massive red ones.
Just a simple question, and this is really more for our voting public. Year 3, we're 2.7 and some change in the green without new revenue. Year 4, we're how much in the red? Is it the 14? And that would be about the same amount for, well, another 20 for year 5. Is that right? About that? Yeah, big numbers. Thank you.
I just want to thank Mr. Sable and Mr. Chambers for all their hard work. This is a massive undertaking, and one I wish we could have avoided, but it is imperative that this levy pass. Now, I would much rather have it pass in March than have to go back in November. I'd like to thank everybody who's come out and worked on the campaign. They've been tireless. Kids First has basically devoted their lives to it. So I thank them, and I just hope the community understands. Again, I see so many postings on Facebook. Oh, you waste so much money, you're hiding it. If you can find it, come to the treasurer's office and go through everything and tell me where you can find the money. I mean, I've lived here my entire life, and I don't think there are 2 people that are more honest and more diligent in their job than these 2 gentlemen sitting next to me. So, you know, early voting has started. You can go and vote. You can do absentee, or you can wait till March 19th. But please just go and vote and help our kids. That's what I would say. So any other questions? Okay, then roll call.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Smoyer.
Aye.
Mr. Nichols.
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chambers, your action items?
So if it pleases the board, item number 1, it's recommended the Board of Education approve the January 24 Treasurer's Fiscal Report. Item number 2, it is recommended that Board of Education approve the following supplementals to the 23-24 permanent appropriations. These are the supplementals I spoke to about before. Item number 3, it's recommended that the Board of Education adopt the resolution accepting the amounts and the rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor for tax year 24, collection year 25.
I'll make a motion to approve treasurer action items. Number 1, the treasurer's financial report. Number 2, the supplemental to permanent appropriations. And number 3, the resolution accepting the amounts and rates.
Thank you, Mr. West. Is there a
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any discussion or questions? Okay, roll call.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Ms. Smear?
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you.
Mr. Sable, action items.
Action item number 1 is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following donations. I do want to thank all of our various community members for all of their donations to our maker spaces. There's quite a few on here, and it is consistently on our board agenda. When we talk about our portrait of a bee, and you heard about the portrait to practice, these spaces and the way our teachers utilize these in the buildings and in the classrooms are really an important piece to that puzzle. These donations are really vital in making those spaces vibrant and happen. Also want to thank Mr. West for his water donation. You know I wasn't going to pass that up. Number 2 is field trips. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trips in compliance with Policy 2340. So we have several field trips here for winter athletics as they get into tournament season. In addition to that, also as we're getting ready to transition to spring sports, many of our spring sports, especially during spring break time, we'll go off to camps. So those are on here as well. And it's also nice to see on here our band and Stardusters Disney trip for Florida. I think the last one was scheduled during COVID and they didn't get to do that. So did they do 2021? Okay. But still nice to see it on here. Service agreement, number 3, it is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following service agreement, and this is for the Summer Stars and Stripes program, which is for qualifying special education students. We've been doing the Stars and Stripes summer program for as long as I've been here, and this year I believe it's going to be housed at Northrop. Yep, Mina's shaking her head yes. And number 4, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the attached parental transportation contract for the 23-24 school year. And I just want to remind the board, we used to just do one resolution at the beginning of the year, and with change in state law, anytime one of these comes up, we present them to the board. And then finally, we have personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following personnel recommendations pending completion of all required paperwork to our Director of Human Resources.
Do I have a motion to accept the superintendent's action items?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve superintendent action items. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Second.
I will second that.
Thank you, Mrs. Smoyer. Any discussion, comments?
Just a comment. You know, in the 2 years I've been on the board, I've seen an awful lot of donations. We have all kinds of community members and groups that donate thousands of dollars totaling to the kids in the school, to the maker spaces, which the kids absolutely love. And I just think it's important. So anything for the kids, and I'm all for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I wanted to piggyback off of that as well and just thank our PTOs, and I know for their donations. I think there were also some donations from the foundation. And I was really actually excited to see the donations to our industrial tech classroom at the high school from Home Depot and I believe from the Jensen family. I think people sometimes forget that we have that program here at the high school. I think they just think about that being at the Career Center. So it's a nice shout out to them, and I know they will appreciate those donations. Also, kudos to our high school student council for the donations that they made out to community organizations.
Quick question. The Disney trip, that's for 25?
Correct.
Okay, just double checking.
Okay. I just want to make 2 comments on 2 retirees. Phil Brewer, a social studies teacher at the high school. My memory of Phil, the very first time I had him in school, was he was the very first person I kicked off student council because he kept missing meetings. I do not think Phil has ever missed another meeting, so I'm glad I had that effect on him. And the other one is Jill Miller, who is retiring as the General Secretary at Maintenance Department. I remember the very first day she walked into the high school, she was our financial secretary. Did an amazing job, and then she came down to athletics, and she followed a legend in Stephanie McClung, and she just went above and beyond. She'll be missed, really missed. So thank you for the years of service. Thank you.
One last thing, and Mr. Sable, maybe you'll add on to this. I believe it's the May meeting where we recognize all of our retirees.
Yep.
That's correct.
So we look forward to seeing them all here.
Hope better than last year. Okay, no other discussion. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Nichols?
Aye.
Ms. Meyer?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Mr. West?
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, action item, Mr. Chambers.
Yes, if it please the board, it is recommended the Board of Education file an original complaint with the county auditor challenging the determination of the total valuation of property located at 3275, 3277 Medina Road, Medina, parcel number 02606D as in David, 34119, and recorded owner Summit Laser Wash LLC.
Motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
thank you, Mrs. Parker, second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Any discussion? Questions?
I'll give you a history on this. This is, the state demanded that school districts have to notify the property owners of any time they're going to challenge the property valuation. And I believe that it has to be $500,000 over the auditor's assessed value and 10% over the auditor's assessed value. So this meets that guideline, and we now have to account for this on a yearly basis.
Okay. Go ahead, roll call.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Nichols.
Aye.
Ms. Moyer.
Aye.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment. We have a couple people. So, Mrs. Varndell, if you'd come up while I read this. Community members wishing to address the board are asked to abide by the following guidelines. Attendees shall register their intention to comment in the public portion of the meeting upon their arrival at the meeting. After those that have registered have spoken, if time allows, the board president will ask for public comment from all other attendees. Please state your name, address, and affiliation. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. No participant may speak more than once on the same topic unless all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard, and all statements shall be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually.
Okay. Thank you, all of you, for letting me speak this evening. My name is Sandy Varndell. I live at 1014 Smoke Rise Drive in Medina. My husband and I are homeowners in Medina for 25 years. Both of our children graduated from Medina High School. They were heritage kids, if there's anyone here left. Graduated 2012, 2016, and they are both members of the LGBTQ community. I am the founder and president of OutSupport, a Medina-based LGBTQ support, information, and advocacy group, and I've had the honor of working with hundreds of families of LGBTQ people of all ages, including youth who identify as non-binary. I'm here today to bring up the topic of the death of the Oklahoma non-binary teen, Nex Benedict. I bring this flag representing non-binary individuals like Nex in their honor. The 16-year-old student who used they, them pronouns died the day after a horrific beating in the restroom at the school that they attended. The teen had been the victim of over a year at the high school, the victim for over a year at the high school they attended by bullies in the school. They were bullied because of their gender identity. I fear that similar situations are surely going to happen and may be happening already, not only at Medina High School, but schools around the country where LGBTQ support and information is lacking, accurate information is lacking. Oklahoma recently passed a bathroom bill similar to the bill that is making its way through the Ohio legislature, as well as anti-trans bills related to the health and wellness of transgender and non-binary youth. The Ohio legislature recently passed similar legislation, regardless of expert testimony of those physicians and mental health professionals who testified against such bills. When bills like these are passed, LGBTQ youth can become the target of hate, and often are, with the apparent blessing of the state that they live in. Nex's death is proof positive of this. Since Nex's death, calls to LGBTQ crisis lines have jumped 500%, according to the Rainbow Youth Project, which runs a crisis line for youth. While trans and non-binary youth already have one of the highest rates of suicidal thoughts and attempts of all populations, news of Nex's death have increased these unthinkable statistics. Why should this matter to Medina City Board of Education? Why should it matter that a teen who lives in a faraway state have anything to do with the matters here in Medina? And I'll tell you why it matters. Medina City Schools, as you are aware, has over 6,000 students, with over 2,000 students in the high school. A 2021 CDC study has found that 26% of all youth identify as LGBTQ. Of these LGBTQ students, the Trevor Project found that 26% identify as non-binary and 20% are questioning their gender identity. Combined, that comes to 46% of LGBTQ youth aged 13 to 17 who are kids like Nex. The term non-binary refers to people whose gender does not fit within the traditional binary construction of male and female. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mrs. Drewley?
Hi, my name is Victoria Drewley. I live at 896 Laurel Glens Drive, that's in Medina. I'm here tonight on behalf of Kids First Medina, and I'd like to start by saying thank you to all of our community members who have showed an overwhelming amount of support for our mission to get this levy passed. Unfortunately, the asks are never going to stop from me because I need things all the way up until Election Day. I've been saying from the beginning that the two things we need to pass this levy are money and bodies, and we've got plenty of money now thanks to an amazing fundraiser we had. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I've sounded like this for 2 weeks. But now we need the bodies. And we have two really big components of the campaign that everyone is invited to help with, everyone in the community. This is dropping literature at doors and making phone calls to reach people, because we know that that's what it's going to take to get this levy passed. So everyone, everyone who cares about our kids, everyone who cares about what they heard about tonight, we saw the juxtaposition was amazing. We saw the portrait to practice and everything that our kids have going on and all the wonderful things in the district. And then we saw the finances that are really hanging in the balance to make sure that we can continue to offer those great programs. So everyone who cares about this, if you want to reach out to Kids First, You can find us on Facebook, Kids First Medina. You can email me at kidsfirstmedina@gmail.com. And I'm around places. I give out my personal number probably more than I should. I'm willing to give at least 50% if someone else will give me the other 50. So we've got 22 days to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for all your hard work with your committee. Any other comments? Okay, thank you. Mr. Sable, is there any need for executive session? Anybody need an executive session? Okay. All right, now you're gonna make me read all this, okay. Okay, we are going to, there's not going to be any action taken after this, but we are going to executive session to consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, compensation of public employee or official, to consider the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee or official, licensee, or regulated individual, discussion with the board's legal counsel of disputes involving the board that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
I'll give you a motion for that.
Thanks.
I'll second.
Second, thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. West, Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Mr. Nichols.
Aye.
Mr. West.
Yes.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Ms. Snyder.
Aye.
Ms. Pritchard.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Will be March 19th at 5:30, just a reminder. And again, no action will be taken. Thank you.